Welcome to episode 7. Today we will be covering the Granger Taylor case. This is District Dark. On the night of November 29, 1980, a man from Duncan, British Columbia, left home in the middle of a storm and never came back. Before he left, he penned a note for his parents. In that note, he said he was leaving to board an alien spaceship for a 42-month journey through the universe. It is one of the strangest notes ever left in a Canadian missing person case. And for decades, it has shaped the way people remember the disappearance of Granger Taylor. At first glance, the story sounds almost unreal. A man says aliens are coming. He leaves during a violent storm. He vanishes. Years later, evidence is found on a mountain that seems to explain what happened. But even that does not fully close the case. It is easy to see why the story lasted. It has all the parts of a legend, but underneath the legend is something more grounded and more difficult. A real man with a family, a reputation, and a life that has made him known all over his community long before he disappeared. Granger Taylor was not famous in Duncan because he talked about UFOs. He was famous because he could do things with machines that nobody else could. He rebuilt old engines. He brought dead equipment back to life. He restored a steam locomotive people said could never be restored. He rebuilt a World War II Kittyhawk aircraft. He was quiet, gifted, and deeply unusual. Then one stormy night, he was gone. Years later, on Mount Prevost, investigators found wreckage, small human remains, and clothing believed to be linked to Granger. Officially, that became the answer. But even now, the case still feels unsettled to many people, because some of the evidence was limited, some of it was never confirmed the way it would be today, and some of it appears to be missing. That is why the case survives, not because it proves something impossible, but because it never fully stops asking questions. Tonight, we're going through the story step by step. Who Granger was, what was happening in his life before he vanished, what that note really tells us, what was found on Mount Prevost, and why this case still sits in that uncomfortable space between explanation and mystery. A lot of people know this case in one line: the man who said he left with aliens. That is the version that travels the fastest. It is the version people remember because it is so strange. But like a lot of famous cases, the simple version leaves out the part that matters most. Before Granger Taylor became a mystery, he was a real person whose life made strong impression on everyone around him. He was not a drifter. He was not someone who had been floating through life without purpose. He had a place, a family, a reputation, and a rare set of skills. This is also one of the cases where the weirdest detail can get in the way of the facts. The note is so dramatic that it pulls people straight towards speculation. That makes it easy to skip over the harder and more useful questions. What kind of person was Granger Taylor? What was his mental state in the days before he vanished? What do we actually know the night he disappeared? What did investigators really find 6 years later, and how strong was that evidence? Those are the questions that hold the case together. Granger Taylor lived near Duncan in the Cowichan Valley on Vancouver Island. He grew up on a family property and spent much of his life surrounded by land, tools, machines, and outdoor work. By all accounts, traditional school was not where he stood out. He left formal education early, and later reporting describes him as having little official book learning. But what he lacked in schooling, he made up in raw ability. He had an unusual gift of understanding how machines worked. People around him remembered that gift early. According to Unsolved Mysteries transcript, Granger restored a one-cylinder car when he was just 12 years old. At 17, he overhauled a bulldozer and used it to help neighbors. These are the kinds of details that can sound exaggerated when you first hear them, but they appear consistently in later reporting and interviews with people who knew him. Even if the exact age have been polished by retelling, the larger point holds. Granger was doing real mechanical work at a level far beyond what people expected from someone his age. His friend Robert Keller later said that people called Granger a mechanical genius, but he thought Granger was more than that. He described him as someone who just thought differently than other people. His sister, Gay Reynolds, described him as being known for restoration work of historical interest and said family property was filled with projects and old machines. Those descriptions help because they show that Granger's unusual personality was tied to real accomplishment. He was not simply eccentric in the abstract, he was eccentric and highly capable. That difference matters. Cases like this often get flattened into personality labels: odd, obsessed, different. But those labels can hide something important. Granger was productive, he was skilled, he was respected for what he could do. It does not make him easier to understand, it makes him harder to dismiss. The project most closely tied to Granger's name may be the restoration of an old two-spot, a Climax logging steam locomotive. A museum post reproducing a December 2, 1970 Victoria Daily Times piece described 22-year-old Granger as a self-taught heavy-duty mechanic who found the 23-ton moss-covered locomotive in the woods with an 18-inch tree growing through it. People told him he was crazy to try to restore it. He did anyway. The details of that story are worth slowing down for, because they tell you what kind of person Granger was. He did not find half-working machines in a garage. He found a wreck in the forest, in a state that most people would have seen as beyond repair. According to the article, he said he did not know the first thing about locomotives before seeing it, but he was thrilled by the challenge. That tells you something about how he approached problems. He was not stopped by an experience. He seems to have been energized by it. The article says that after a year of patient work, Old Two-Spot was sparkling and waiting to be steamed up. It also notes that he moved the locomotive in 1969 and had other heavy rail equipment around it, including a 25-ton locomotive crane. This was not hobby-level tinkering. It was major restoration work done by a young man on the family property because he believed it could be done. He also restored a World War II Kittyhawk aircraft that later sat near a store on Vancouver Island Highway before eventually being sold to a collector. Again, the point not just that he likes old machines, it is that he had the patience and understanding to take a very large, very difficult project and complete them in a way that made people stop and stare. By the time Granger disappeared, he had already become the kind of local figure people talk about for years. The quiet guy who could fix anything. The man who pulled a locomotive out of the woods. The one who rebuilt a fighter plane. In a smaller community, people remember someone like that. Descriptions of Granger from people who knew him tend to circle around the same words. Quiet, gentle, shy, kind, unusual, and brilliant. These descriptions are important because they push back against easy temptation to turn him into a cartoon. He was not presented by those close to him as dangerous or erratic in a threatening way. He was described more as someone who lived partly in his own world. His sister, Gay Reynolds, remembered spending long summers with him on the family farm, swimming and listening to music. The details are simple, but they matter. They remind us that Granger was not just a case file and not just a mystery figure. He had an ordinary family memories behind him. He belonged to people. He was part of a home. That closeness also helps explain why his disappearance hit so hard. This was not someone already drifting away from family life. By later accounts, his family loved him deeply, and his room was reportedly preserved for years after he vanished. Local reporting from 2018 says a documentary team visiting the family found that he was still very loved and that his disappearance still carried emotional weight decades later. Alongside his mechanical skill, Granger had a deep interest in outer space, extraterrestrial life, and UFOs. This was not hidden. His family and friends knew about it, and he talked about it openly. The Unsolved Mysteries transcript says his fascination with the mechanical world was rivaled only by his interest in space and extraterrestrial life. And his sister said that in the late 1970s, he built a spaceship-like structure out of 2 large satellite receiving dishes welded together. She said he spent hours sitting in it and was obsessed with finding out how spaceships were powered. The details about the satellite dishes has become one of the most famous images in the case. It is easy to hear it and only focus on the eccentricity, but it also fits what we already know about Granger. He was someone who worked with metal, engines, structures, and ideas. He was fascinated by spacecraft. It makes sense that he would try to build something physical that reflected his interest. It may looked like a backyard UFO, but to him it may have also been a workshop of imagination, a place to think, or just another project. Robert Keller later recalled that Granger believed in simple probability. There are too many planets and too much space for Earth to be the only place with intelligent life. That line of thinking was not unusual then, and it is not now. The important point is that Granger was not just casually entertained by UFO stories. He appears to have been taking the question seriously. He thought about it deeply. The public record supports the interest strongly. What it does not support is anything beyond that. It supports that Granger believed in UFOs. It does not support that anyone else saw evidence that he was actually in contact with extraterrestrials. That gap matters because later retellings often blur the line between what Granger believed and what the evidence shows. According to Robert Keller, the last 2 weeks before Granger vanished were different. In later interviews, Keller said Granger told him he had been having reoccurring dreams in which beings from another planet told him they needed his thoughts and wanted to come with him. Keller said Granger believed these beings would arrive on a stormy night and take him away. He also said Granger believed he had been told not to reveal the meeting place. That account has to be handled carefully. It comes from later recollection by a friend, not from a contemporary written statement available in the public record. Still, it matters because it suggests the final note was not random. If Keller remembered correctly, Granger had been talking in advance about a coming departure. He had placed it in a storm. He had given it a shape and time. Then, when a major storm hit on November 29, he seems to have connected the moment to what he had been saying. This is one of the places where the case becomes harder rather than easier. If Granger truly believed he was going to meet something not of this world, then the note may have been sincere in a literal sense. If he did not, then the note may have served another purpose. But in either case, the reported conversations with Keller suggest planning, or at least expectation. It was not just an impulsive note written out of nowhere. By all later accounts, November 29, 1980 brought heavy storm conditions to Vancouver Island. The Unsolved Mysteries transcript describes blinding rain and a dark, violent system moving through. Keller remembered strong thunder and lightning, and he said he felt as though the weather matched exactly what Granger had been talking about. Even if some of that memory has grown more vivid with time, the basic fact is well supported. Granger disappeared on a bad weather night. Keller later said Granger came to get him that morning and seemed excited. He remembered Granger saying, "Today's the day." This is one of the most direct later descriptions of Granger's state of mind the day he vanished. It suggests anticipation. It does not tell us whether that anticipation came from delusion, intention, or private planning. But it suggests that Granger believed something important was about to happen. At some point that evening, Granger left his note. The words widely reproduced in later coverage is very close across sources. He said he had gone away to walk aboard an alien spaceship. That reoccurring dreams had assured him it was a 42-month interstellar voyage to explore the vast universe, and that he would return. He also told his parents to use his will as a guide for his belongings. That is one reason the note feels so eerie. It was not just a drastic goodbye. It also contained practical instructions. Some later reports say Granger was last seen at Bob's Grill and Duncan that night. That detail appears in later summaries and media coverage, though it is not documented in public sources as strongly as the note itself. What does remain consistent is this: Granger left the family property in his truck that evening, and it was never seen again. The note is a key piece of the whole case, so it is worth staying with it longer. The reason it has lasted so long is not just because it mentions aliens. It is because it sounds so calm and so matter of fact. It does not read like panic. It does not read like obvious dark humor. It reads like a man trying to explain an absence in terms he expects the reader to accept. That does not mean the note tells us what happened. It does not. The most careful thing that can be said is that the note proves what Granger chose to write. It proves he wanted his family to find those words, and he framed his departure as a voyage and not as a death. But it does not prove aliens, it does not prove suicide, and it does not prove a staged disappearance. It tells us something about the story Granger left behind, but not necessarily about the events that followed. There is also the will reference. That part tends to get less attention than the alien language, but it matters. When someone leaves instructions about belongings, it suggests forethought. It suggests on some level Granger expected an absence long enough that property would need to be dealt with. That detail does not settle interpretation, but it does give the note more weight than simply a fantasy letter. The public record on the earliest search period is thinner than many people realize. Later retellings focus so strongly on the note that they can give the impression the whole case was obvious from the start. It was not. For years, what people really had was a man who left in a truck during a storm and never came home. There is no rich public trail of confirmed sightings after he left. There is no detailed open record of a tight hour-by-hour search timeline, and there was no body or vehicle found right away to explain anything. The long silence is part of why the case grew the way it did. When a disappearance begins with something as bizarre as an alien note and then offers almost no follow-up evidence for years, the mind starts filling the gap. Some people likely took the note seriously. Others may have assumed it was a cover for suicide or running away. but without physical evidence, all of those reactions remained guesses. The years passed, and the note remained the strongest known piece of evidence. That is unusual. In many missing person cases, the note or the last sighting is only the beginning. Here, the note was almost the whole public story for more than 5 years. Then, in March of 1986, the case changed. According to Unsolved Mysteries, on March 20, 1986, municipal work crews thinning growth on Mount Prevost, a few miles northwest of Duncan, noticed signs of an explosion in the forest and reported it. Police went to the scene and agreed that an explosion had taken place. What they found there became the basis for the official end of the case. The scene contained fragments of a pickup truck, human remains, and clothing believed to be Granger's. The transcript describes the site as a crater with truck parts scattered around it, and later reporting described the blast as powerful enough to throw wreckage into the surrounding area. One account says the vehicle part was found embedded high in a tree. To investigators, this was the answer that they had been missing. Granger had left in his truck. Years later, truck wreckage and human remains were found at a blast site in the mountains near Duncan. The chain of logic is why the authorities moved toward a death ruling. It is not hard to see why they did. From a distance, it looks persuasive. But distance is the key phrase here, because once you move closer to the details, the case becomes less clean. Later reporting summarized in Unsolved Mysteries transcript says that human remains found at the site were very limited. Journalist Tyler Hooper, discussing the case in the program, said 2 bones were recovered, one of them identified as part of an upper arm, and that pathologists concluded they were human. This is not the same as a full body recovery. It is not the same as a complete skeleton, and definitely not the same as modern DNA-based identification. In 1986, DNA testing was not in the regular investigative use the way it would become later. So the official conclusion did not rest on a direct scientific confirmation of identity. It rested on circumstantial evidence, the location, the truck fragments, the clothing, and the human remains. That distinction matters a lot. It does not mean the official conclusion was wrong. It means that the conclusion was made using the standards and tools available at the time. In today's work, many listeners would expect DNA, a serial number chain, or some modern forensic processes that remove doubt. That did not happen here. The case became even more frustrating because, according to the same transcript, the current whereabouts of the bone fragments are unclear. The RCMP spokesperson Chris Manceau is quoted discussing the fact that the policies and procedures changed over the years, and it is not clear where the fragments are now. If the remains cannot be located, they cannot be retested. That means one of the strongest possible modern ways to confirm the official conclusion may no longer be available. That one fact alone is enough to keep doubt alive for some people. Not because it proves a conspiracy or cover-up, but because it leaves the final identification weaker than many assume. The wreckage found on Mount Prevost was treated as Granger's truck. Later reporting says the VIN number identified it as his. That is a significant point in favor of the official conclusion. If the recovered vehicle fragments matched Granger's truck identification, then the case against coincidence becomes stronger. But there is also a wrinkle. Robert Keller always remembered Granger driving a pink truck, while police paperwork and some newspaper accounts described the recovered vehicle as blue. Keller points to this discrepancy in Unsolved Mysteries transcript as one of the main reasons he remains skeptical. He did not see it as a minor detail. To him, it raised a basic question. If it was clearly Granger's vehicle, why did the description not match the truck he remembered? Tyler Hooper offered an explanation that has circulated since. The truck may have originally been registered as blue and later painted pink. If that is true, the discrepancy becomes easier to understand. Vehicles are often described in records by registration details, not by later cosmetic changes. If the truck exploded and burned, the investigators may also have leaned on paperwork rather than visual paint remains. That explanation is plausible, but it remains an explanation, not a fully documented public clarification from the original investigators, so the color issue continues to sit there as one of those small details that can weaken confidence for people already unsure of the evidence. Another part of Mount Prevost evidence was clothing found at the site and identified by a family member as belonging to Granger. That is another piece of circumstantial support for the official conclusion. Family recognition is meaningful, especially when the case involves personal belongings. But again, it is not the same as laboratory confirmation. It is one more part of a picture built by association rather than one definitive test result. This is really the theme of the whole evidentiary side of the case. None of the pieces is worthless. On the contrary, together they form a serious basis for an official conclusion. But each piece also has limits. Human remains, yes, but limited. Truck fragments, yes, but with details questioned by some close to the case. Clothing, yes, but identified by recognition. The case is strong enough to look resolved and weak enough to keep doubt alive. Authorities treated the death as a result of an accidental explosion. That detail is important because public retellings sometimes slide too quickly into more dramatic versions. Officially, this was not ruled an alien encounter, but it was also not publicly framed as murder. And in material surfaced through later reporting, it was not clearly declared a suicide either. The working official explanation was that there had been an explosion and that Granger had died from it. There is at least one practical reason why investigators could imagine an explosion involving Granger. According to later reporting, he had access to dynamite because it was used on the family property to blow stumps and clear land. That gives a possible mechanism. It means explosives were not some impossible outside factor suddenly introduced to the story. But even here, questions remain. Keller later said he believed the case of dynamite on the property was still there after Granger disappeared, leading him to doubt whether enough explosives were actually missing to produce such a massive blast. He was careful not to overstate his certainty, but the fact remains, one of the people who knew Granger best was not convinced the explosive explanation fit cleanly. And that raises the next level of mystery. If Granger died in that explosion, what exactly was he doing on Mount Prevost during a storm with explosives in his truck? Was he trying to stage something? Was he experimenting? Was it self-destruction? Was it an accident caused by unstable material in a bad weather? The official conclusion points to the blast, but does not fully explain the actions that led to it. From the point of view of authorities, the story is not hard to reconstruct. Granger disappears on November 29, 1980. Years later, municipal workers find an explosion site on Mount Prevost. At the site are the truck fragments linked to his vehicle, small human remains, and clothing believed to be his. Based on circumstantial evidence, the coroner rules that he died in the explosion. RCMP then treats the case as effectively resolved. But simple is not the same as complete. Administrative closure and emotional closure are different things, and Granger Taylor's case never fully made the jump from official answer to public certainty. A big reason the case stayed alive is that at least some people close to Granger did not fully accept that everything had been proven. Robert Keller, in particular, remained publicly skeptical. In the Unsolved Mysteries transcript, he questions the lost evidence, the truck description, and the absence of what he considered solid proof. His position was not built around an elaborate story. It was built around simple demand. If this is the answer, show the evidence clearly. That attitude matters because it keeps the case from becoming too neat in hindsight. It is easy for distant audiences to hear human remains and truck fragments were found and assume that everything was scientifically locked down. But skepticism from someone close to the case reminds us that the lived experience was more uncertain. For him, the Mount Prevost discovery narrowed the mystery, but it did not erase it. One reason the Granger disappearance has been retold so many times is that the alien note makes it impossible to forget. But it also creates a problem. It makes people start from the strangest possible interpretation and work backward, instead of starting from evidence and working forward. The public record strongly supports that Granger believed UFOs and talked about extraterrestrial life. It supports that he built a spaceship-like structure out of satellite dishes. It supports that he told people about dreams or messages before he vanished. And it supports that he left a note saying he was going to board an alien spaceship. All of that is real and documented through later interviews and transcripts. What the record does not support is evidence that aliens were involved in any factual sense. That point may sound obvious, but it matters because the legend of the case often pushes people towards treating Granger's note as a clue to an extraterrestrial event rather than as a clue to his mindset. In a grounded retelling, the note is evidence of what Granger wanted people to read. It is not evidence of an extraterrestrial encounter. The first and strongest theory in the documented record is the official one, Granger died in Mount Prevost explosion. The support for this theory is the truck wreckage, the human remains, and the clothing identified by family in the coroner's ruling. This is the position authorities accepted, and it remains the official ending of the case. A second theory is the note was sincere in the sense that Granger truly believed he was going to meet something not of this world. The record supports that he believed in UFOs and had become increasingly absorbed in the subject. It also supports that he had reportedly been talking for days about the coming storm night departure. What it does not support is anything beyond that. This theory explains the note well, but it does not explain the blast site unless it is combined with the official conclusion that he later died in an earthly explosion. A third theory is that the note was not literal at all, but a cover for some other action, disappearing, harming himself, or creating a myth around his own departure. The note's practical language about belongings and the fact that he left during a storm gives the theory some shape. But there is no public record of a second note, a confession, a reliable later sighting, or a discovered plan showing that he staged the whole thing. It remains possible, but not proven. A fourth theory held by some skeptics of the official account is that Mount Prevost site did not conclusively prove Granger died there. This theory relies on limited remains, a lack of modern DNA, the uncertainty over the current location of the bone fragments, and the doubts raised by people like Keller. It does not offer a complete alternative timeline by itself. It mostly argues that official conclusion may be less final than it appears. There are some things in this case that can be said clearly without stretching anything. Granger Taylor was a highly talented self-taught mechanic and restorer from Duncan area. He restored major machines including a steam locomotive and a World War II Kittyhawk. He was quiet, eccentric, and deeply interested in UFOs and space. In the late 1970s, he built a spaceship-like structure from satellite dishes. In the days before his disappearance, he reportedly told at least one close friend that he expected beings from another planet to take away during a storm. On November 29, 1980, he left a note saying he was going on a 42-month interstellar voyage, departed in his truck, and was never seen again. In March of 1986, an explosion site on Mount Prevost yielded truck fragments, human remains, and clothing linked to him, and authorities concluded he died in the blast. This is the clearest factual shape of the case. It is also strange enough on its own. What cannot be said clearly is just as important. The public record does not show a modern DNA confirmation that the remains on Mount Prevost were Granger Taylor's. It does not produce a complete minute-by-minute reconstruction of his final drive. It does not explain why he would have been on the mountain with explosives during a storm. It does not settle whether the note was literal belief, symbolic language, misdirection, or something else. And because some physical evidence now appears to be missing or unaccounted for, the chances of settling some of these questions have only gotten worse with time. This is the real reason the case endures, not because the official story is impossible, but because it is incomplete. The Granger Taylor case has stayed alive for decades because it has perfect shape for memory. A gifted local mechanic, a homemade spaceship, a stormy night, a note about aliens, and a mountain explosion years later. It is vivid, and vivid stories survive. But there is something deeper than that. This case also sits in the exact middle ground where mysteries become permanent. If no evidence has ever turned up, it would remain a total disappearance. If the blast site evidence had been fully confirmed by modern forensics, the case might feel closed. Instead, it sits right between. Enough evidence to end the file, not enough evidence to end the conversation. That middle ground is where some of the most haunting cases live, not in total darkness, but in partial light. You can see enough to form an outline, you just cannot see enough to stop wondering. Granger Taylor is often remembered as a man who left Earth on an alien ship, but the fuller and more careful version of the story is harder than that. He was a gifted, unusual man from Vancouver Island who spent his life rebuilding old machines and following ideas that most people would have brushed aside. He believed in life beyond Earth. He built a kind of backyard spaceship. He talked about being taken away, and then one stormy night in 1980, he left a note and disappeared. Years later, evidence found on Mount Prevost gave authorities what they considered the answer. Truck wreckage, human remains, and clothing tied to Granger led to an official ruling that he died in an explosion. That remains the formal explanation. But because the evidence was limited, because the remains were not identified by modern DNA testing, and because some of the physical record seems to have been lost, the case never fully stopped feeling unfinished. So, the Granger Taylor case lasts for two reasons at once. It lasts because the story is strange, and it lasts because even after the note, the storm, the mountain, and the official ruling, the final picture is still not complete. What did Granger Taylor truly believe was waiting for him that night? And what exactly happened on Mount Prevost?